Hello, 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 everybody. Welcome to another episode of Crisis Currency Conversations. Thank you all for joining me this afternoon. If you've been following us, we've been doing this. This is the 5th episode. We are excited. We are streaming live on Facebook at the L3 Agency, and we are also on YouTube Live. So thank you guys for joining us. You are in for a treat this afternoon. I've got some boss babes that I really respect, love, and appreciate the work that they do. And we're going to talk about everything from storytelling to video storytelling and all that good stuff. But before I get started, I've been doing this whole, hey, everybody, I've been doing this, what brings me joy. And so in this crisis, we all have to find joy in it. It's tough for all of us. And so I feature products that I order online that bring me joy. And so this one is right here, and I'm going to put their information up, but they are a Black-owned company, and they are a family-owned business. And so I'm going to bring up their information right now. And what's so unique about this product is it's small enough for ladies to put it in our purse. We're using a lot of hand sanitizer. We're using so much hand sanitizer, and my hands are so dry. So it has blue ras. I'm really loving the coconut one, but it comes in a nice little package, and you get a little duo. So I just want to say, support this business. It gives me joy because I just don't want to have dry hands. So I'm just sharing that with you guys to let you all know that, support this product. Again, it's a young, she's like 13, started it, family owned. Her parents have invested in it. So I just love entrepreneurship, and I love Black entrepreneurship and online. So please support that. And so I just want to say that I am looking forward to bringing my guest on. I don't know about you, but we are all having, we are having a tough time through this, but this is a good time to really work on branding, really work on storytelling. And I also think it's a good time to network with your sisters, people that you perhaps haven't talked to in a while, to really understand their business and what they do. And so I'm going to bring them up. So I want you all to know I've got my tea. I always tell people, make sure you bring some your favorite beverage, and now mine is tea. And that's what I have to get me started. So my name is Larvetta Lawson. I run the L3 Agency, and I had the pleasure of meeting 2 amazing women while at Tuck. Tuck at Dartmouth is an executive education program for business owners, and I'm a certified MBE company. We are a minority business enterprise. And so they have classes specifically for these businesses. And so I'm going to introduce you to 2 amazing women. Like, I love and respect these women for their heart, their passion, and their sisterhood. And so I'm going to just introduce you to Tiffany Williams, who is the CEO of Twice Media Productions. Hey, Tiffany!
Hey, Larvetta.
I'm so excited. And Tiffany is all the way from H-Town. And so I'm excited to have you. You are certified MBE. And so I do want you to share a little bit about how long you've been in business, so that people can really understand that, we are not like, we're not baby business owners. Like we get some vets on here, some real vets. And we still look like we 25, don't we?
Yes, ma'am.
So how long have you been in business, Tiffany?
Well, first, let me say thank you for having me on today. Very excited to be here. And in August of this year, I will be celebrating 8 years in business.
Wow, that's awesome, Tiffany. Mm-hmm. That's incredible. I mean, we're going to talk about pivot and how the importance of this, but you and I had the pleasure of meeting at a Tuck program to really help scale our business. And so it's now it's been 3 years? 3 years, right?
4 years, I think. It was
4 years. Okay.
Yeah.
For me, it's been 3 years since doing it. And so I've watched my business grow as a result of that. And for you too, right? You've watched your business grow. So it's about investing. So I want to bring on my girl out of Chicago, Miss Jinja, and bring her into this studio, because this is my studio. This is our online studio. This is what I have to tell myself. This is my studio. Hey, Jinja.
Hello, Larvetta, and I'm a tea drinker too.
I
love my English breakfast, my second cup today.
Oh my God. So, Jinja, what's your favorite? Do you have a favorite tea?
I do. I'm a huge Tazo fan. Their English breakfast is the best. It's my favorite.
Okay. Oh, wow. I didn't know that. So that's a good thing for me to know, so I can send you as a gift. I like yeah. So that's good to know. Tiffany, are you a tea drinker?
Yes, I like tea, but I drink coffee a lot more.
She was like, wait a minute, let's be clear. I am a tea drinker, but I gotta have my coffee. So whatever is your favorite beverage.
I've already had way more caffeine than I need for today, so I just got my water here.
That's all right.
You know what? I mean, it's Friday, so this is my last cup, and I'm going to migrate very quickly to wine or Tito's vodka. So It's a little too early, but it's happening.
Yeah,
it's 5 o'clock somewhere.
Right, exactly. So I do say after I finish this show, I literally take a moment and I look forward to Friday night. So I do this and then I look forward to my Friday night. So Jinja, how long have you been in business? I know I've got another veteran business owner. How long have you been in business?
Oh my gosh, too long to count. I mean, I launched my company in Chicago in 1997 and I incorporated in 1999. So it's been a bit. I mean, I was fortunate enough to start my company in Chicago when Mayor Daley and Maggie Daley were in office and money was flowing from trees because President Clinton was in the White House. So it was a good time, to start a business in those days. It was really great. So.
Yeah. And you're still doing great. Even at, you're still doing great. So I really want to talk. I mean, we're both certified business owners. And for those people that are tuning in for the first time, we just want you to all to know that we are certified I'm certified with the MBE, which means that I'm a minority business enterprise. And I have my certification. We've had it for about 3 years. It has yielded some great results for the clients that we have when they find out that we're certified. It's like it keeps the relationship going. So it has worked. It didn't get us business, but I do want to make sure our business community understands that it's a lot of work, right? And so I don't know, we all know that it takes work to build a company. Like it takes work. So it's not going to happen overnight. So if you've got the time and the investments, but if possible, Tiffany, how long have you been certified out of Houston? I know that you've received several awards within your chapter. And so if you could share with the business community how it has helped your business.
Absolutely. So I got my certifications in 2015 and I've had them ever since. And I've gotten several contracts through those relationships that I was able to build through those organizations. So, I mean, it's been a good experience for me and my company.
Nice. Jinja, what about you? I know that you're certified as well. How has it helped you? Or maybe it hasn't helped you. You just are certified and it's just, it's like flashing the black card. Maybe it's
I am certified as a WBE and an MBE. I'm also certified as an airport concession disadvantaged business enterprise, as well as a DBE, which is a disadvantaged business enterprise. And then locally, I'm also certified as a BEP, which is a business enterprise program in the state of Illinois. And then I have registrations across the country for the federal government through SAN registrations, economically disadvantaged women-owned business and minority business, which used to be self-certifying properties, but now they're actually moving to having the larger certification agencies now certify women-owned and Black-owned businesses. So that's actually a new change that just took place. Has it been helpful to be certified? I've only become certified because certain agencies that have wanted to hire me have requested that I do so because they can then get credit for my work that, whatever revenue they're paying me, then they get credit for that as, checking a box. It hasn't really been a tool for me to go after and develop new client relationships. In fact, if I can be blunt and be very transparent, I don't really know the last time that I have won a contract through being a prime vendor to apply and to, try to answer an RFP. And we were talking a little bit about this earlier. I've been in Chicago for a long time, and I would say most of the time when I've applied to, an RFP, I haven't actually prevailed, and someone else has won out the contract. So I can't really say that certification has helped my business. Now I am I have a brand strategy, multi-channel strategy company. I do visual identities. So my space is very dense with a lot of established historical, white male-owned companies, even across the country the same way. So my space is slightly different. I think if I pivoted to project management or construction, things where, it's a little, I don't know how to explain it, but if I was in a different space, maybe these certifications would be useful. So I still recommend these certifications depending on your business model, depending the kind of work you do.
Agreed.
In my space, it has not been beneficial or helpful to me. I started my business without certifications for probably about 10 years, and I was working with large companies like, DeVry and, really huge companies, global companies. And then I don't really know what happened. Like, I don't know when it became a thing, right? Where it became useful, where it became a tool. I'd love to hear your other guests talk about this more, because I haven't figured out how to make it work for me in my business.
And I think, Tiffany is like, I think she is the only, and Tiffany, you can say this, you're the only business, what you sell, you're the only one within the Houston chapter, correct?
No, there's other video production companies that are certified, but there aren't very many. And so I've been able to work within, my chapter and just relationships that I've built through those organizations. I've been able to strategically partner with larger firms that offer complementary services and really just kind of become their video arm. So they're the ones that are putting the resources and the manpower, money behind going after these RFPs. And all I have to do is show up and deliver what I say I'm going to deliver on. And so that has really kind of helped me get in the door, get those larger contracts, gain that trust, and then be able to start going after more as a prime. Yeah. I'm happy to be a sub. I don't need my name to be at the top of the contract in order to benefit. Because at the end of the day, I love video. So, and I don't love RFPs. So out of the equation, I'm good. So yeah.
And I think that's important of understanding, just as all of us, we collaborate, together and support each other. I think that's important to know that, hey, I don't want to be the contract. I'll be the sub. And I think that's the lane that, some of us have to make that decision. And I think playing in that space. So I want to dig into this crisis. We're in a crisis right now. Obviously, Ginger, you've been in this for several years, 2 decades. And so, Tiffany, you're at 8. I really want to talk about, is this your first crisis? And, if so, if not, how did you pivot? And so I really want to talk about that because, we're talking about storytelling, we're talking about branding, we're all agencies who are shaping narratives and telling stories. And so how has this crisis for you, if you've experienced crisis, how has it been able to pivot your business? I'm going to go to Jinja. Have you experienced a crisis before in your business?
Definitely. So when my company first started, there were some economic challenges, but we had different leadership at the federal level that managed the crisis very differently than we have now. And then there was the massive crash in 2007, which actually started in my space, in my business. I saw the signs around the middle of 2005 to 2006. So at that point, I started making changes. And then once the crash hit, I had a couple things in place to protect me a little bit from the financial impact of that. On the other hand, during that massive crash, I just had my third child, which really, 2008 was my third child. So that was challenging for me because I had 3 small children under, I think at the time it was under 6 or under 7.
Okay.
So that was actually, that was around the time for me that I started going a little bit into different types of work industries, more nonprofit, where there's more women in place making decisions. I did a little bit more heavily government work when the Daley administration was in power, and Maggie was doing a lot of things around the city to work with African American businesses and people in the creative spaces. So I did at that point during the crash. I pivoted then because I had children, and I had to pivot because I wasn't as available as I was before with 3 kids, and so that was a little bit different than today because even then, money was more available from my network. My network had more money. My mother had more money. There were people in my school community that had funds that they could help you figure out how to resolve things. The school that my children were at the time, which is a private school, they gave me some room to take a break on paying the tuition, to say everybody is trying to bring together as a community. So there were some things in place that even though the bottom fell out, there was some help. This crisis is very different because everyone is afraid because we're dealing with this sort of invisible force that could kill us. And so even if you have money or have resources now, people are a little more reticent about giving them, or they're not sure if they should because they might need to save it in their mattress for a rainy day. So I feel like right now there's less support, financial support from multiple places that there was in 2007. However, with my business, I pivoted digitally many years ago because this is a space where, this is a space that I started changing, I want to say maybe 5+ years ago. And I started moving into other spaces because I was finding, and I talked about this earlier, the business that I was in had become commoditized and everybody was doing it. So then I was thinking, well, if everybody's doing it, how can I stay the most competitive? It's not helping me to have minority certifications or woman certifications. That's not helping me if everybody can do this. Like, it's not an advantage. So what can I do? So I started kind of looking around to see what made the most sense. And I had an opportunity to work with someone at Navy Pier, and they needed me to do a digital audit of something that was happening at Navy Pier at the time. And I always say this, sometimes if a client asks you to do something and you don't know how to do it, you say yes, and then you figure it out.
Later.
Figure it out, right? And again, a woman hired me and brought my company in, and I staffed my project with women, and we basically figured out what needed to happen. And of course, it was an amazing process. I learned a lot, but I also delivered a high value service, which gave me a visual for how I could start creating another business line in my company. And that's exactly what I did then. And that kind of transformed my whole company, because at that point, when I was doing this digital solution, I started offering digital solutions and everybody started saying yes, and people started buying the digital solutions. So at that point, I saw something that I was able to make a pivot. And that's kind of where we are now. We're in a space now where, because we're kind of taking a break out of force, we have no choice. And all these companies are now trying to gain our attention and gain our dollars. And we're an attention economies. They're trying to get everything they can from us. So they're giving a ton away for free. So this is the perfect time to figure out, like, where can I come up with another line of business? What can I do with this new technology? What can I do with all this free stuff to transform something I'm doing, so that when we do come on the other side, I'm ready for it and I've already got a pipeline to make money. So yes, we're all having trouble, but this is, if you're healthy, if you're not dealing with extraordinary death, if you're not, and no shame if you are depressed, because some people can't do this right now. They're just like, I can't, and that's fine. But if you can, this is a beautiful time with all the ugly, crazy, to try to figure out, let me just save this pocket in my head to like focus on this thing and make a change.
Yep. I totally agree with you, Jinja, and I love that you shared like having small kids and like trying to navigate that. I haven't, never experienced that, but that's a real challenge, and so really, how do you scale up when you have small children? So I appreciate you really bringing in that mother side of it. in building a company. Tiffany, share if you've experienced crisis and how you've pivoted out of that.
Yeah, so in business, you're always putting out many fires, right? There's something always happening, but it wasn't until 2017 when Hurricane Harvey hit Houston and it devastated our entire city. And I went 4 straight months with no revenue. Nobody was thinking about video at that time. And we were trying to rebuild our city. I mean, it was a really big blow to our city. And so luckily I had put in a lot of work prior to that. So it was crazy. I literally celebrated my 5th year in business and I had this big grand anniversary party. Wow. And I mean, we did the most. I'm talking, ice sculptures filled with shrimp and virtual booths and, 360 photo booths. And, it was a lot. We had TV screens everywhere. It was the most. But I was so excited to celebrate, and then literally a few weeks later, Harvey hit and it shut everything down. And it was like, whoa, you just spent all this money on this party. And now, what are you going to do? But like I said, luckily, I had put a lot of stuff in place prior to that prepared me for that. So one of the things that you always hear in business is make sure you get money before you need it. So luckily, I had already established a line of credit with the bank, and I was able to use those monies to sustain, those few months without revenue. And then also because a lot of those relationships that I had established and people that I even invited to that anniversary party that now saw me as, this established, credible business. And we ended up getting one of our biggest contracts a few months after that. So we went, those few months where there was nothing to getting one of the biggest contracts we had that was more than we had made in revenue the last 2 years combined. So wow. It was a transformative moment for my company after that. So we had to go through that devastation. But if it wasn't for having those things in place, then we wouldn't have been able to sustain. So it wasn't necessarily a pivot so much so as it was just being prepared on the front end. And then also it was a pivot in the sense that I had put together a growth strategy. I actually paid a company a bunch of money to do all this research on my firm and interview my employees and put all this elaborate plan together. And one of those things in the plan was to start building out strategic partnerships. But because I was so used to doing things how I had been doing them, we had this strategy, but I really wasn't putting a lot of effort into implementing it. And so when Harvey hit, I really didn't have a choice. I had to make a decision to really start doing that and getting those bigger contracts that were going to help transform my business and take us to the next level. And so that kind of put the fire under me to do that. And this second crisis that we're experiencing now has kind of forced me to do something that I started doing back then, because we started establishing our online classes back then. But again, I didn't really need revenue from those online classes because I was comfortable over here doing what I've been doing. Mm-hmm. But when this global pandemic hit, and 75% of my business is dependent on in-person production, whether that's in studio or on location, what am I going to do? Everything is shut down. So I had to really go back to what I said I was going to do and start doing it this year. So that's kind of how I've been able to pivot over the years when faced with crisis.
I think, the one thing that I love that both of you understand is that there was something about planning and preparing, being prepared to know that you're in the crisis. And so where do I need to go? But I say this, Robert, relationships are our currency. And so building these relationships, that will open up when things are better and they will remember, like awareness, we have clients all the time, like how, we're awareness. It might take you, we say 18 months, might take 5 years. But what happens is, what I do believe is that you get a return on your investment if you stay consistent on it. And what I see from both of you all is it about consistency. And so having online presence and understand that. So I want to talk about a little bit around this idea of this, digital footprint video, storytelling. Like we hear this, and so everybody's online now, right? That's where we are. But I also have found that I'm missing user experiences And so I'm literally saying to myself, like, this is cool, but it's not giving me the red carpet service that I'm used to going into the retail store. I'm getting a hello, how are you? I'm getting that. And so for Jinja, you very much that's your space, and Tiffany will talk about from a video, but how we're, for businesses, how can we create that? I mean, first of all, you got to be online. We know that. But how, so those that are listening, I mean, you have to be online right now. And so if you're not online, you need to build that site, or you need to pay someone to build it. So okay. So now we've got this covered. Now, how do you build this experience online when everybody's online now, Jinja? So how do you build on that?
So first of all, everyone is not online. That's the first thing. The challenge we are in right now is that many people have postponed or not taken seriously the online, digital, making money while you sleep, pipelining all your goods and services to an online environment. That has not been taken as seriously as it is now. The unfortunate thing is Black business in particular have always been in a technology gap. So unlike the larger brands that can pivot and change and implement things quickly because they have employees all over the world, they have people handling admin, they have lawyers and accounting firms and all kinds of things helping to prop the business up. When you're a small business owner, especially if you're a Black woman, especially if you're a Black woman, you probably haven't done the things necessary to ensure that now is not a place where your business is going to die, regardless of whether the virus was here or not, right? Regardless of that. So everyone's not online. So how do you get online? Online is not just doing what we're doing, having conversations. It really is having multiple digital presence on multiple platforms and not putting all your eggs in one basket. What I loved about this particular conversation, Larvetta, is that you didn't use Facebook exclusively. You didn't exclusively use Instagram. You used a platform called StreamYard. That's great to me. I thought this is fresh. We're not assuming that everyone we want to reach is on Facebook. Facebook requires you to log in and have a profile and give them your information before you can access content, Larvetta, which you want to make available to more than just, Facebook people.
That's right.
So online is, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, having a website and keeping it up to date, having a brand channel on YouTube for videos. I'm sure Tiffany can talk in detail about that. Putting blogs together, making sure that your profile on Google searches is how you want to be represented in front of your customer. What does that look like? Having a Google My Business page. Ensuring that when you do a vanity search on Google Images, which by the way is the #3 search engine in the world, that images that show up are representing your brand the way you want it to. And if it's not, you got to figure out what you need to do to fix it. And the only way to fix it is to show up in multiple places. So the first thing that really has to happen is to have the mindset that I have to be in more than one place at one time, which means I can't physically be present. So how can I be present 24 hours a day, 7 days a week? That means being in multiple places online all the time. That also means having a grasp of how you can create effective, strategic, goal-based content that appears appropriately and effectively depending on what channel you're on. And you know this, Larvetta, as a writer yourself, you have to create different pieces of content depending on what channel you appear on for your business. And that's something that takes time to practice. It's a skill. And as you said earlier, if you can't do this yourself, now is a great time to find someone that can help you do it. And right now, there's a lot of bargain sales going on with a lot of people in the creative industry. They're just like, please hire me. I have a discount rate going on for the next 3 months. Right. I will help you do all of this. I mean, this is a real world we're in, but I don't think people are offering a discount just to get your business. They're really doing it because, number one, they want to stay vibrant. They want to stay busy, but they also know there's a real need out there to help people. And so, there's a lot that has to happen. But another note about being Black and in business, especially if you're a Black woman, we were already under attack before this happened. It just from work to health to education to business to contracts to relationships to networks to even get loans. And if we were in trouble then, we're really in trouble now. And so one of the ways we can work around that is doing things like this and finding ways to engage and have conversations. And like you said, saying hello, professionalizing everything about us, whether it's the background that we're in front of, which all of us are presenting appropriately, inviting people into conversations, trying to offer goods and services to help other Black women in business be successful, because no one's going to help us but us. Like literally, there's nobody else except us.
Yeah, oh, Jinja, thank you for that. Because I'm a firm believer of Google and YouTube. I know everybody runs there, but that's my search, and it's because of you that really just reinforce that message to make sure that there's something. So when people Google, I mean, when they Google Larvetta, they seeing, YouTube. So I'm like, yep, I'm visible. So making sure that happens, because we talk about being on IG, we talk about that, but we really don't talk about the importance of Google and running ads. Because of you, I ran ads, and we got great analytics as a result of that. We didn't get any business, but we got analytics. And so sometimes, that's enough. Tiffany, video, we're on here, we're video. How can we shape stories on video and really tell incredible stories? Because, as a storyteller, that right now, I say this, stories sell. They really do. But it has to be told in the right way. And so how can people create video where they can tell stories about their business or their clients?
So the first thing any business needs to do is really put together a strategy and understand who your audience is. So it's great to have a presence on multiple platforms, but when you try to talk to everybody, you end up talking to no one. So I feel like you have to have a firm understanding of where your people are, what language they speak, what they look like, what they enjoy, where they frequent, and then give them content that they want where they are. Now, as you build your community, I definitely feel like you should branch out and try other platforms and do what works for you. But I always tell people, especially those just starting out, find your sweet spot, figure out who your demographic is, and then go there and deliver. So one of the things that we've been doing since this pandemic hit was create a Facebook group. And we've been going live in there every week, just kind of positioning ourselves as a resource and building that trust. And then, eventually we'll start selling. But what we're doing is really just kind of staying connected and building that human connection when we can't physically be together. And that's just one way. So, like what you're doing, going live on Facebook and on YouTube, and you had talked about LinkedIn and reaching audiences there. So I definitely think it's important to have multiple channels, but also understand what you have the capacity to do. And some of these smaller companies don't have, a marketing team that can manage all of these different pages. And what you don't want is just something just sitting dormant. So I would say kind of find your sweet spot and deliver quality content. And Jinja, you mentioned YouTube. Absolutely. With Google owning YouTube, that only increases your chances of being found. So if you're going to be creating videos, let's say in your Facebook group, repurpose those to YouTube, repurpose those to LinkedIn, but reach people, understanding where your audience is, and then reach them there and speak their language and really kind of leverage the power of video, because that's what's getting the attention right now. And that's what a lot of the algorithms are giving preference to. So Facebook in particular is giving preference to live content because they want you to stay on longer. And with live video, people typically tend to watch a lot longer. They also give preference to native video. So videos that you upload directly to their site. They don't want to send you to YouTube. So don't post the YouTube link because it's not going to get as much traction as posting a video directly to Facebook. On Instagram stories, going live from there. You're getting that notification when somebody you're following goes live. So there's so many different ways you can use video. We could do a whole different episode about that. But what I would say at the core of it is understanding where your audience is and delivering what they want and positioning yourself as that resource so that when they are in a position to make a purchase, you're the first person they think of. Oh, and what I didn't mention was email marketing. That's another powerful tool, but connecting with people there. But it's really this time, it's just staying connected, staying visible. Video is one of the most powerful ways that you can do that.
And that's,
I was actually going to add something, Larvetta, because your original question was, I can't get my in-store experience. And to Tiffany's point, the thing that's awesome about video is you can give someone an in-store experience with video, right? I mean, you can hold your you don't even actually, at the moment right now, a lot of us aren't hiring professional videographers. I know that I'm not, because all of my customers are not moving around, and they have policies in place which say, we're not actually having live events, we're not going to do this kind of work. But in the meantime, if you are a retail storefront owner, and I have several that I work with in Chicago, you really need you need a high-end iPhone or a high-end Google Pixel 3 XR, or even if you have a high-end video camera that you can use, if you're as professional as Tiffany, you can walk around your location, walk around your store, and you can still shoot things. You can touch objects. You can you can teach people about this thing, like, oh, this is a product that I have in my store. Look how beautiful the rock is. I mean, you can do things like showing things up close. You can describe textures and colors and patterns and things like that. You can physically walk around with your device and give people the experience of being there. And that's what's beautiful. And that's why, to Tiffany's point, you get a lot better results when you do that kind of thing with live video, because the companies like Facebook and YouTube and LinkedIn, places like that, they do want you to be native. They want you to be in their app. And it's really because they want you to be their customer. They don't want you to be YouTube's customer. Yeah. They don't want you to be Facebook customer. They want you to be there, and they want you to be trapped in there, so your customers can be trapped there. So, and that's totally fine. And to Tiffany's point, knowing who your audience is, my audience is not on Facebook. My audience is on LinkedIn. Yeah. So that's where I spend a lot of my time creating content, right? It's just not, the Facebook for me is where I have my friends and family environment, but that's because of the business I'm in. But, I feel like the challenge that retailers are having is that they're not getting the connection that they have to their customers either. So you got to just experiment and make stuff up. You got to just see what happens and see what works.
And this is perfect segue for our next guest. So thank you, Jinja, for setting me right up for that. Because I have Teran Smith, who really helps retail. Her company is really helping that retail community to build on, building that structure. So I want to introduce Teran Smith. She is a CEO and founder of 37 Oaks. And so I thought it was perfect that Jen just set the table up for me to land you right on in. Didn't she? She just set it all up.
Wow. Thank you, girl. Thank you, girl.
So you nice and comfortable. You've heard from us, but we really want to dive into this retail component and crisis, because this is your lane. You talk about shop local. And for those that are tuning in out of Chicago or any place, let me say this: shop local, support your local businesses. It's important to do that. And that is what Teran Smith, that is what her company is all focused on. So Teran, I do want you to dive right into is I really want to talk about what are retail companies doing right now in this crisis? What are you seeing them? I mean, are they pivoting? How are they innovating? I love what Jen just said about, using video and showing that user experience, because now I'm seeing that I'm not getting that. And I know for me, when I purchase, I'm looking for that. I'm right. So I'm looking for a little bit more than just, okay, order my shoes and I'm good, So, what do you see happening right now during this crisis for retail businesses, brick and mortars?
Yeah, so for brick and mortars, what you're seeing a lot, and you have the big box, and then we'll call it the little box. Okay. So the big box, these are the Walmarts, the Targets. They're used to being online. They've been online. It's not anything new for them. They may be adjusting some of their approaches a little bit, to Jinja's point, just a little bit more experiential online, because now they can't necessarily balance the offline with the online like they have in the past. But either way, they're still focusing a lot of their efforts on engaging with customers, more so on social media. When you have the deep pockets as a Walmart or a Target does, you can tap into virtual reality and all this other technology stuff that a lot of our little box and medium box can't. So that's what you're seeing on the bigger box side. When you get to local retailers, it's not the same. So what I mentioned about the big box is that they've been online, so they're used to that. Many of the little box, they haven't been to, I think it was Jinja's point also. So they're not all online. So part of the challenge has been, and what we're seeing is that a lot of these smaller retailers are trying to figure out how to pivot online. It's a learning curve. E-commerce is big. You don't just get a Shopify site and call it a day. Like, you don't. You don't.
No, you don't.
That's the misconception. It's like, oh, well, I've had a storefront. I've been selling at pop-up shops. I've been selling at festivals. Now I can't because they're closed. Let me go to Shopify. No, I mean, that's a good starting point, but the challenge has been they don't have the luxury of that learning curve, or that reduced learning curve. So what we're seeing now is a lot of those smaller businesses just are trying to figure out and trying to learn e-commerce just to really keep their head above water.
That's good. And I think, you know, and I want to bring this up because I think it's important. In another video, I said this, you know, that Nielsen had a report about 2 years ago about 62% Black women enjoy wandering into the store looking for that new and interesting product. And so when they did that, I was like, wow, that's interesting that happens. So how, and goes back to my point earlier, is like, so how are businesses, how can they create that experience for those avid wanderers of Black women who are looking for that favorite piece of art for a loved one, or, you know, something along those lines? You know, what do you see could be valuable for them?
So here's the deal. When you're looking at brick and mortar or online versus offline, prior to COVID-19, about 85% of total retail sales were done in a physical location, like a physical brick and mortar location. 85%. So we keep hearing the stories of retail is dead and the retail apocalypse. Yes, but 85% of customers were shopping in physical locations. Now after COVID or as it progresses, who knows what that number is going to be, right? But it's still going to be pretty substantial. There are benefits to shopping in brick and mortar that online cannot touch, and vice versa. There's benefits of online that physical brick and mortar can't touch. Part of the benefit of going into brick and mortar is you're able to touch all of the 5 senses, right? You're able to touch taste, smell, sight, what other? Y'all know that it's other ones, right? Other two, right? So you're able to touch all of them. Online, of course, you don't have the benefits of taste and smell. Like, there's a lot of technology out there and all that other stuff, but when it comes to our smaller retailers, probably not going to be able to touch that for a while. So when it comes to getting those wanderers or those people that would just stop by and see something in the storefront or go in and maybe because they smelled the aroma coming from a coffee shop, when you're online and you're more focusing online, you have to figure out how to get that experience virtually. And it has to happen before they're shopping with you. So a lot of the things that you all are talking about now with like video and social media engagement and getting from behind the brand and, you know, Facebook chats and all that other stuff, that's what they have to do before they get to your e-commerce site or before they get to your social commerce site. So the important thing there is you have to try to touch as many of those senses, but it's going to start earlier in the purchasing process or the sales process than it typically has been.
Mm-hmm. You know, can I ask you a question, Laura?
Yes.
Teran. So I'm just thinking about in the summertime in Chicago, and I know, Tiffany, you're in Houston. I don't know if they do something in Houston, but in Chicago, we have a lot of festivals and fairs where independent entrepreneurs are there, and they're collected there by a leader of the fair, right? You know, and I don't know, how do you help these? There's a lot of women that sell at these, and definitely a lot of Black women that have beautiful, you know, art objects, jewelry, everything. How do you talk to them about what they can do? Is it a matter of us having a conversation with the leaders of these fairs and saying, what can you do to help them? Or do they have to start going in and getting more training? And then my follow-up question to that is, how are you advising, I don't know if you are advising or not, but how are you advising these larger, like, companies that do this every single summer? Because people count on that to make money.
That's good.
Women.
That's good.
Great question. Oh, you have a question, or Tiffany?
I wanted to speak to that just because we recently experienced that here in Houston with the rodeo. The rodeo brings in millions upon millions of dollars every year, and a lot of these vendors rely on that for the bulk of the revenue that they bring in. And so when rodeo was shut down because of the coronavirus, there was a Facebook community that was built for vendors specifically. And everybody in Houston came together and still bought stuff so that these vendors who had traveled from all different parts of the nation that were relying on that money were able to still generate some revenue. Now, obviously, it wasn't what they would typically get with foot traffic coming through the rodeo, but they were able to get something. And so I see that being kind of the wave of the future. If we're building these communities for Black women or vendors in general to go where they can still generate some kind of income. And this was done, you know, during a pandemic. This was trying to figure it out. But just imagine what we could build if we had time to think it out and build that community and, you know, invite these vendors. And so I think it's just creatives like us kind of coming up with those ideas and building that space for women, charging them to do it. But we have to, I feel like, work together collaboratively to build those spaces so that we as a community can continue to thrive during times like this. And even just in general, as we move forward into whatever this new normal is going to look like.
Yeah, good point.
This is definitely a topic that, of course, you know, I dive into, because under 37 Oaks, we have two brands. One is called 37 Oaks University, where we have like over 30 courses that build your retail, your commerce, and your distribution knowledge, right? But then the other brand is called Saucony, and that's our business to consumer brand. So we have an e-commerce site, and we also do like pop-ups for a lot of these businesses, but we're trying to take the learnings from the university and apply it so that these businesses can actually connect and sell directly to customers. So we're working with both of those. So we have an e-commerce site and we facilitate those pop-ups. So what we've started to do is for a lot of those businesses right now that cannot be a part of a Saucony pop-up, they're now online. They're on SauconyStore.com, and we're selling a lot of those products through there, but we actually, in June, we're going to do a virtual pop-up. So kind of, again, taking that experience from our physical pop-ups in the summertime, a storefront, however you look at it, and we're taking that experience online. So we have to your point, Tiffany, get very creative because, again, at the end of the day, like you said, Jinja, this is Chicago. It's summertime Chicago, and big deal.
We got to hurry up. Like, I don't know. I feel like the world that we're in Chicago relies on this. I do think, I'm curious what you think, Larvetta. How do you manage expectations? Because we're not going to make as much money doing this right now. We're not ready.
We're not. And I do think that we're not going to make the same amount of money that we did. But can I say this? Some of our costs are being reduced too. So we also got to understand that while we're not making as much, our costs are being reduced just drastically. I mean, think about how much, I just think about how much I network and go to events and take people out and do that. I'm not doing that anymore. So,
right.
So that chunk of money has been, drastically reduced. So I think we have to really look at, one is, what profit, because I don't know that people have really looked inside of their businesses, like peek through and really understand what your profit margins were. You might have been doing business and didn't realize you really weren't making any profit on that side anyway, because you didn't have, and we've had other episodes, we've had accountants come in to really talk about, what does your financial story look like, right? And so understanding that, but I also really, really believe, and I'm going to say this because we've got a question, but I also believe that, I know it sounds simple, most people don't have a bio, people don't have a headshot, they don't even have a branding footprint to be able to build on something. And so sometimes I feel that, for us, we help these clients get style guides. Even big box, little box, if I ask them for a brand style guide, they're looking at me like, it's been about, that's a good, and so you're all over the place. So I can't find, what's the logo? What's your story? Who you're talking to? So interesting enough, we have a question, which I think is a good question, is how do you understand who your audience is? So that's one. She got a loaded question. So I'm going to just say,
I love it.
How do you understand your so thank you, Jean, for joining us. I appreciate you. How do you understand your audience, and any advice on how to get ahead? I think she's trying to say get ahead on them. What are ways to glean that information, especially if you're just getting started, such as ready to launch a website? So this is probably, you know, she's a solopreneur, ready to launch, understanding your audience. I'm going to say this. You can't understand your audience until you ask them. That's what I say. You can sit here and say, my audience is this. Have you asked them? And so having surveys, SurveyMonkey is a free tool. Google Forms is a free tool. Ask your audience. Whatever your email database is, ask your audience. I will just, you know, hit one other person to say, if you know anything, just start on a website. Like, what advice would you give? Is that something? I know Jinja has a bunch of virtual classes. I know that Teran has a bunch of virtual classes, but is this someone that could, you know, should be taking a virtual class? What do you all suggest?
I mean, I personally, I like free first, and I know that's going to so yes, I want everyone to go to 37oaks.com/university and take some courses, but I do promote free first. So I believe that she is a product business, like she's selling a physical product. And one free way just to connect with your customers, I think sometimes we may forget, is to go out there and look at what your competitors are doing, what your largest competitor is doing. Sometimes we feel like our products are so unique and no one's doing what I'm doing and I don't have any competitors. Yes, you do. So I need you to really be objective and take a look. And even if it's out of your immediate reach, even if it's the largest, you know, soap manufacturer, if it's Dove or, you know, P&G or something, just identify who it is and go and see what they're doing. Because if the big box guys or the big deep pocket people are doing something, how can you do that on your level? Because you're going after the same type of person, but figure out how to trickle down. And that's a free way of doing it. So I would recommend that first.
Research. I mean, research. People don't understand that research. I just believe if you're in marketing, you're researching all day long. I know all these, but I know that's all we do. We go research. That's how I got to StreamYard, Jinja, because I was researching with Tiffany. We were looking at different so it took research. It took testing. It took, okay, will this work? It doesn't work. And it took us trying free services to be able to say, okay, this is going to work. Okay, I'm willing to invest. So I would have to agree. So she said it's jewelry. So it's jewelry that she's trying to push out there. But I'm going to say this, ladies, and I know we've got a few minutes and I want you all to give your final words. I do have to say this for both Tiffany and Jinja. We both invested in ourselves and going to tough. I do believe that this is a time to invest. That's what I've learned. We're benefiting as a result of investing. So, you know, obviously for some people, we were given as fellows and scholarships to be able to do that. And there is opportunity right now for people to get free classes at Ivy League schools. They are doing that right now so that you can really understand how to build an enterprise business. So I'm going to give that for folks. We got one more. I'm going to go on and take D War. So this is funny. How do you think forward? How do you predict what people will want in business? How do you think forward? And how do you predict what people will want in business? I'm going to go for Tiffany.
I don't think you can predict it. I think it goes back to what you said. You got to research. And then to Teran's point, you have to look at what your competitors are doing. You find out what is going on in the space, what's going on in your industry, and then you can look at consumer behavior and figure out where you fit in. Now, it doesn't mean you have to emulate what they're doing, because you may have something that's new or innovative in your space, but you still got to look at what's been done so that you can figure out what people are wanting as you move forward. But it's really going to take some research and looking at kind of what's been done before you, instead of you trying to figure it out on your own, because especially if you're new and you don't know anything about consumers, the behavior and business and customer avatars, and if that's all foreign to you, then I wouldn't say try to predict it. You really got to do the work and do the research. And there are free resources. Like I know here in Houston at the University of Houston Small Business Development Center, they have a library and a librarian that will allow you to come in and do consumer research in your industry. So I'm pretty sure they have resources similar to that in Chicago and other cities where we have people watching. But find out what are what's out there that's free. Because I'm a fan of free 99, just like Teran said. And it's so much out there. When I bootstrapped my business at the age of 24, I was just out of college, didn't have anything, and I literally took advantage of all the free resources that were available online and here in Houston. And that's just kind of how I built my foundation and was able to kind of go up from there. But it's going to take some legwork. Don't think you can figure it out just, on your own or from just looking at people who claim to be entrepreneurs on Instagram.
Come on. High five on that.
We didn't even hit on influencers at all. I mean, I was waiting for you, Teran, to talk about influencers as a way, but that's another conversation.
But no, that's a whole other conversation. And I recognize that I want to make sure these are boss babes that we get off in an hour so that you guys can go be great. So I want to say final words, Jinja. Anything that you're doing that you can share with online communities, or if there's something that you just want to share with the audience as we close.
Well, first of all, thank you, Loretta. This is amazing. I love this, love this. I mean, we're all trapped, so this is wonderful to have this experience of being together, even though we're apart. I guess what I would suggest, I have a podcast actually that has some really great information. It's called The Honest Field Guide, and I think you put it on my information. You can log into The Honest Field Guide on Apple Podcasts if you listen to it, or you can log in from your browser anywhere on any device with Google Podcasts just by typing in The Honest Field Guide podcast. But on my podcast, I interview entrepreneurs just like us and some other celebrity entrepreneurs and some authors and things, and we talk about what have you done how did you build your business? What did it take? How did it make sense? How did you build your network? How did you get money? So far, I've talked to Danny Wirtz, the owner of the Chicago Blackhawks. He's also, he's actually the interim president of the Chicago Blackhawks now, and Breakthrough Beverage. I interviewed Paul Jarvis, a book I would recommend called, his book is called A Company of One. It's a great book to read for people that have a one and done business, a one person business. Interviewed a Grammy Award winner, Tina Clark, and I actually just interviewed a Whitney High School graduate. Poor class of 2020, my God, but he's a senior at Whitney Young, and he has a company called Kicks of Chicago, which you can look at on YouTube. It's a really good conversation with him. It's bittersweet, but that's really what I would recommend. I'd love for you to listen and give me feedback and leave a comment on my Apple podcast. And you can always get to me at birdcreative.com. Thank you.
I'm going to slide over to Tiffany. Tiffany, if you can give us any final words of what you're working on, or anything that people should know about.
So let me say thank you as well for inviting me on here today. It's been a great conversation with you ladies. And my advice to businesses would really be to stop being afraid of technology. We really have to start thinking about how we can use technology, create technology, because I firmly believe that it is up to us to create the technology that's going to solve the problems that are impacting our communities. So I didn't talk about my other business on here today, but I have a venture capital fund where we're funding minority, specifically Black and brown technology companies. And we're trying to shift this ideological way of thinking from I have to build a lifestyle business, something that I have to work in for the rest of my life, and move over to technology businesses that I can scale and sell, or a tech-enabled business, or something that I can create in my current business that makes the customer experience even better by enabling technology. So really don't be afraid of technology, leverage it. There's a lot of free resources still out there, like social media. I mean, yes, you want to pay for ads so you can expand your reach, but there's so much you can do with technology. So don't be afraid of it, and really think from an innovative standpoint how you can build your business, how you can start other technology businesses. And you can partner with others. Like, you don't have to build the technology yourself. If you're not a tech person, get a chief technology officer, network in these tech spaces. So just don't be afraid of technology. That's my bit of advice for entrepreneurs, especially Black and brown entrepreneurs. Stop being afraid of technology. And then in terms of what I have going on, I have some workshops online. So you can find them at twicemediaworkshops.thinkific.com. You can also go over to twicemediaproductions.com/consulting. We got some stuff over there. And lastly, my Facebook group, DIY video toolkit. and I give advice on videos, do-it-yourself videos, camera confidence, live streaming, anything that you need to really kind of enhance your video offering. So hit me up.
Yeah, we're actually going to be in her class. Me and one of my staff members, we're going to be in her class. So we're really excited about that. So last but certainly not least, Teran, if you can give us any final words, specifically around local communities. I know we're a little over, but if you don't mind just wrapping up with us to be able to tell us, communities, what should we be doing? Shopping local, so if you can tell us that a bit, that'd be helpful. Thank you.
Yeah. So also, thank you, Larvetta. I appreciate this. It feels good, like Jen just said, just to connect to ladies. Even though we're not physically in the same room, I feel good. I feel like the energy that I'm absorbing. So thank you. So my final words would be, 37 Oaks, what we do is we educate and we prepare small businesses for diverse growth, specifically diverse growth. So if you think about the current situation right now with COVID-19 and a lot of businesses, they started off with pop-up shops and storefront, but they weren't online. Like, this is our sandbox right now. So the most important thing for businesses to do is to take advantage of any time you have now to think about how to diversify your business, period. Because I don't know how long this COVID-19 pandemic is going to last. Even if we do reopen, we might close back. So I need you all to just kind of get prepared for that. So I mentioned 37 Oaks, we have 2 brands, but the 37 Oaks University, I really want you to just give some thought to looking into it. We have over 30 courses, like I said, that just prepare you for commerce and distribution and retail. And we have different series. So a lot of businesses right now, they're considering wholesale. We have a whole track of courses around going into wholesale because you can get large orders from it. And some of those retailers, like we said, the Walmarts, the Targets, they're still open. We have series on e-commerce. We have a series on mobile retail. And the cool thing about it is that a lot of our courses are on demand. So, well, not a lot, building that up. But some of our courses are on demand. So you could just go to our site and just watch it.
Right.
So I really just encourage a lot of these product business owners to go and just invest in yourself. We also have free information. Every week we do a bob and weave series, as we call it, because everyone's trying to bob and weave and trying to figure out what's going on. And we'll bring on an expert similar to this, where we're talking about retail commerce distribution, and it's free. So you go to also 37 Oaks on demand and you can watch that under free content. So it's really about how do you as a business owner use this time to be strategic on diversification, because we never know when the next COVID-19 is going to hit.
That's so true. And so, ladies, I thank you all for giving your time, your resources, and your knowledge. I mean, and just an opportunity for us to all connect. So I thank you guys for episode 5, right? So I can't believe that I've made it up to episode 5. So thank you all. I really appreciate you all. I love y'all. I mean, literally love y'all till infinity, because y'all all said yes, and y'all could have said something else at 12 o'clock.
No one's going to say no to you, Larvetta. Come on. Keep it real.
I love you all, and I will see you all real soon. So thank you all for joining me. Thank you for those that got a chance to listen to us today. I appreciate it. I want to say that, please continue to keep listening to us and tuning in every Friday, 12 o'clock. We come in and we provide, just content for you as a business owner. Again, my name is Larvetta Lofton. I'm the founder of the L3 Agency. I hope you will subscribe to our channel on YouTube at Larvetta L. Lofton, and you can see some of the past episodes and just stay engaged with us. I promise we won't overload you with information, but we promise to make sure that you build currency through this crisis. Till next Friday, love you all. Have a great one.